Sunderland lost in the playoff semi-final first leg against Lincoln City 2-0, which really puts them at a huge disadvantage, obviously, heading into the second leg. Lincoln, probably deserved winners on the balance of play, but I think Sunderland can probably consider themselves a little bit unlucky simply because, you hit the bar twice and then they go up the other end and score. Disappointing. The second goal was just a comical error, and while it was disappointing, the blame probably does go to Tom Flanagan. It just summed up our day. I don't think we were necessarily the better side. I don't think we were. I think Lincoln probably did shade the game, but it wasn't a 2-0 game. I thought it was much more even than that. But anyway, that's irrelevant to the point. We lost. The disappointing thing for me was we really started slow in the first half. We didn't really create much. Lincoln were better out the traps. Second half we did start a little bit better, but the goals we conceded were poor ones, and that's a theme. That's a recent theme for Sunderland. We've been conceding a lot of goals that were pretty crappy, pretty preventable. And I think, now isn't the time for the inquest. I feel like Sunderland's social media, of which I am currently not on, but Sunderland's social media at the minute, when I've had a flick through it, the inquest is beginning for some people, and people are beginning to question, Lee Johnson, which of course is fair. When you've only won 1 in 10 games or whatever the statistic is at the minute, that is fair. More than fair to criticise him. However, I would say the time for the inquest is when the season's over. And if on Saturday we do get knocked out of the playoffs, then I think serious questions need to be asked and answered. From everyone at the club. Obviously, I think that the asterisks next to Lee Johnson in particular is the fact that he hasn't had a summer transfer window. A lot of the players are going out of contract, and this was a team that we were dissatisfied with at the start of the season, which is why Phil Parkinson left. So we knew that the squad wasn't where it needed to be anyway, and Lee Johnson did do a good job to get us in the playoffs. The disappointing thing is the form, since we beat Oxford at home, it has just been, diabolical. Really, it's been absolutely abysmal, and that needs to be addressed in it. And I think the ownership at Sunderland, the directors, need to consider whether or not they believe that Lee Johnson is the man to drive the club forward, and ask the question of whether or not they want him building the squad, because this summer, irrespective of what league Sunderland are in, there is a lot of changes going to happen. We've got a lot of players heading out of contract, and I think that Sunderland, really, really have a chance to change things, which is a positive. One of the positives from this, whether we are promoted or stay in League One, is there is a chance to really create change at Sunderland. We've obviously got new ownership, new manager, a whole new backroom staff at the club. However, the players have stayed largely the same. So this summer presents an opportunity for us to completely change that. But what I think, for Sunderland fans who are, thinking that this is over and the season's done, it's just a formality on Saturday, I don't think it is. If we were in this position and we were coming into we won 2-0, say, at the stadium, right? We're going into the second leg. I don't think we would be thinking that it was over and done. Lincoln are probably going to be tactically in a bit of a conundrum. How do they approach that game being 2-0 up? Do they put 10 men behind the ball? Do they try and find themselves a goal? It'll be interesting to see how they approach the game. Certainly, if they stick 10 men behind the ball, then and play on the counter-attack, that's probably the likely scenario that Michael Appleton will play. And if he does it, they have players that can hurt us. However, the issue is that they would be allowing Sunderland to put pressure on them, and Sunderland have players who can create moments out of nothing. And while we're 2-0 down now, if we were to grab a goal in the first 10 minutes of the game, it becomes a very, very different match. And of course, we've got 10,000 Sunderland fans there, which will make a difference as well. So it's not over and done with. I think people are maybe blown out of proportion where this ties at the minute. I've seen Sunderland come from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 this season in the last 15 minutes of a game. We can do that. We can turn this game around. We've beaten Lincoln 4-0 already this season. So this tie is not over yet. As for Lee Johnson, the team selection, I thought it was a curious team selection. And I think I've been a proponent of what Lee Johnson's been doing since he came in terms of the team selection. I think he's got a lot of things right, but there were a few asterisks I'd stick on that. Of course, he's been so unlucky with defensive injuries, and that is something that has plagued his time at Sunderland. He's basically never had the defence that he would have wanted, and he made the decision to put in Tom Flanagan, who hadn't played since the Papa John's Trophy final. And I thought at the time, I put in the Rogue Report group chat, I was like, if we are going to lose this game tonight, it is likely going to come from something Tom Flanagan does. And I think both goals you could probably attribute, to him making mistakes, particularly the second one where he hits a short back pass to Lee Burge, and Lee Burge does what he really only could do and try and clear the ball forward. I know he maybe could have put it up for a throw in, but I don't think you think like that in that situation. If you're him, you're just trying to volley the ball as far as possible, and it was unlucky. It was an unlucky bit of play from Burge, but I think Flanagan really did sell him short. That was a bold decision though. He's throwing Tom Flanagan, who hadn't played for a while, and I thought it was a wrong decision at the time, and I think my view on that is vindicated. I think the other thing that is just really mind-boggling is we need creativity and we needed a creative spark, and Chris Maguire is still sitting on the bench. We know Chris Maguire, he's a big game player for us. He won us, the playoff semi-final against Portsmouth a couple of years ago, by scoring the goal at Stadium of Light. So having him sat on the bench really doesn't sit well with me when you're chasing a goal. I'm not saying Chris Maguire is the answer to our problems. He isn't the answer to the problems. He's a flawed footballer, like everyone in League One. However, he has that one moment in him, and we've seen it continually since he signed over the last 3 years. He has a moment in him that can win you a game of football, and ultimately, Sunderland need moments like that at the minute. And if Chris Maguire is still sitting on the bench, come Saturday after the match, and he didn't come on, I think that's a criticism that really needs to be levelled at Lee Johnson, because you've got a player there who we know is very talented and can make a difference. Now, he's not going to be the answer to every problem. There are fundamental issues within this team right now. I think we look disjointed. I think we look like a team which knows it's going to be breaking up in the summer, and that's an issue in itself. I don't know if our form has become, a lack of security from players. Is that playing an impact? I mean, you'd like to think it wouldn't be, because I'm sure Lincoln have got lots of players going out of contract, but it seems to be playing on the minds of our players at the minute, because the level of performance from when we beat Portsmouth, only like 10 games ago, to where we are now, it is chalk and cheese. This doesn't look like a team that's capable of winning football matches. Charlie Wyke, he literally didn't get a sniff. I don't know if he had a shot in the whole game, and that's not good enough for a player who scored 30 goals to maybe be a talisman. And Lee Johnson's probably in a position whereby he probably thinks Ross Stewart could do a better job, but do you drop the man who scored all your goals this season? That's a big call to be made. But ultimately, heading into the game on Saturday, I'm disappointed, because I was really looking forward to it. I was looking forward to going to Sunderland and going to the game and getting back in the Stadium of Light. I was really excited for that, and it's been tempered a little bit now. I don't have that same buzz that maybe I was going to have. Say last night before the game, I was really excited for the weekend. Now I feel like, there's almost no pressure, which is a positive, but it's also disappointing to think that, even if we won the game 1-0, we're not going to get there, and we've got a lot to do. There can be no excuses for anyone to be playing less than a 7 out of 10. We need a team full of 7 out of 10s with a few 9s out of 10s if we're going to win the game. And Lee Johnson needs to fire them up, and he needs to prove, this, for him, I think it's a massive moment, because if Sunderland were to get to the final, I think a lot of the doubters would probably quieten down. If Sunderland were to lose, I think there'll be a lot of people who probably have shifted, maybe into the Lee Johnson out camp. And I personally, I don't see myself being there, but I certainly wouldn't blame any fan for thinking that, because, Sunderland AFC does not deserve to be at this level as a club. Our fans have been through the mill. There aren't many clubs, save for, Bury, Bolton, been through disastrous times. There aren't many clubs though that have went through what we've went through, 10 years in the Premier League, and then a dramatic fall, from grace into League One, and to be stuck here, barely breaking into the top 2 for the last few years. It is hard. It's hard being a Sunderland fan. So I think that just about sums up my feelings. I've not really been as active on my YouTube channel or my social media recently, kind of as a personal decision. I find the social media to be a bit poisonous at times. I don't like seeing the bickering among Sunderland fans, and I find myself getting pulled into that, and I don't want to be in there. I try and view, my social media, my YouTube channel, as a positive outlet for me, and I feel like my social media at the minute, it was turning into a negative, and I was getting almost a little bit of anxiety with it. I wasn't enjoying being on Twitter like I had been in previous times, and I get it, like football's supercharged, and people have criticisms of me and Rogue Report, for our involvement with the previous ownership, and I get that, and that's perfectly fine. But I think sometimes it can get a little bit personal, and I'm not really in the market for that. I think I've I'm a grown man. I don't really need to be sitting there getting abuse on a Saturday evening on Twitter, but that's just me. So I've sort of quietened down my Twitter feed. So I apologise if people are missing my social media. Probably not, because it wasn't really that impressive anyway. It wasn't that much going on. But, you know, I've took myself off there. I've kept myself on Instagram. So if you do want to keep in touch, Instagram's probably the place to do it. Just literally type in my name without a space and you'll get there. And Facebook's Facebook. People add us on there and I don't accept because I don't use Facebook. But yeah, that's kind of summed up in that, and I've sort of kept myself quiet off YouTube as well, just doing sort of the bare minimum, just basically for the same reason. You know, I get a lot of, you know, YouTube's fine, I don't really get any negative comments on YouTube, but I think sometimes it's just important to take yourself away from these sort of platforms, because it can, you know, sort of play with your head and mess with you a little bit. But anyway, here's hoping. I guarantee I'll be tweeting on Saturday if Sunderland were to turn it around against Lincoln City and get a Wembley. But I'm not going to hold my breath. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for supporting me throughout the year. You know, this could be the last video of the season where we've got a chance of getting promoted. So there is that as well.